Welcome to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast, where we discuss all things wellness.
I'm Eleni Welch, nutritionist.
And I'm Kay Boyer, health enthusiast. Welcome back, Renegades.
Welcome, Renegades.
Welcome to another week of Smart Nutrition Advice with Eleni.
Woohoo!
I rename it every week.
Yes. Slightly different variations of the same name.
But the concept is we need a pep talk. And I'm glad you're here for it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. This week we're going to talk about eating healthy on a budget.
Yes. I'd say in our modern times, that's useful. Because every time we go to the grocery store, my husband is like, gosh, we blew the budget again. It seems to have gone up like every year, like $20, like $40. I think we're up like $50 a week than we would normally spend.
Well, cost of living has increased.
It really has. So this is useful.
Before we dive in, first off, hello to our listeners in Finland.
I
love that. Finland is definitely on my travel list because it's one of the top places in the world to see the Northern Lights.
Love it. Have you ever seen them?
Okay, I have seen them once here in Iowa.
Yes.
Apparently they were visible just recently, but we missed them.
Yep, I missed them. I think it was overcast. Yep.
Yeah, and honestly, like to see them like in their, because you can like see a shadow of them here.
Yeah, right.
But to like see them
in
all their glory is like 100%. That's literally been on my bucket list since I was like 9 years old. Like I think I read about them in a book or saw them on a National Geographic or something. I'm like, I'm gonna go see them. So Finland is one of the best places, and I want to go.
Cool. Now it's pretty like northern for me, obviously, since you can see the Northern Lights. But Finland, how warm do you get? I'll come if it gets warm.
Oh, I'm sure it gets warm.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Then I'm in too.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Here's some fun facts about Finland.
Yes.
They have declared October 13th a National Day of Failure to celebrate life setbacks as a natural path toward success.
I love this.
How cool is that? What a great mindset.
That's amazing. Do you have to go to work on that day? I hope not.
I don't know. Maybe you go to work and you just mess a bunch of things up.
Yes. That is really neat. What a good mindset. Like, very cool.
Of like, we're literally going to have a whole day celebrating our failures because that's where you get success.
As defined us in our growth. Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
Yes. Good self-awareness, Finland.
Also, since Kay and I sure love our saunas, the word sauna is Finnish, and it's the only Finnish word that makes it into everyday English language.
Yeah.
The Finnish sauna is a critical piece of the country's heritage with over 2 million saunas in Finland, which is approximately one per household.
No stinking way. Wow. Because they're maybe northern and they need it to keep the sunshine on them, the sun. Because we have a Sunlighten brand and I always use it hardcore in the winter because I need it.
Finland's parliament even has its own sauna where officials can debate.
Stop it.
I'm like, oh, cool.
In the nude or maybe a towel?
I don't know. Maybe a towel.
The vulnerability. So
yes.
You can
it would be a good way to like really, you're on even ground.
Yes, you are.
If you're naked in a sauna.
That's really cool.
I know. I thought that was amazing. And we all know, not we all know, Kay and I really know the health benefits of the sauna. So I can really get behind that.
Like a healthy nation.
They sound so healthy. And then look at how healthy their mindset is with this like National Day of Failure where they celebrate life setbacks. And it's because they're in the sauna all the time. They just are like, they have good emotional and mental health.
Yes.
That's what I think.
I love it. Okay. I'm in for, let's travel all these places. I'm here
I know,
for
I
it.
want to.
Yep.
It's going to be tough. We do have 82 countries now
that
listen in on the Renegade Nutrition Podcast.
Okay, I'm going to try a little harder. Thank you, listeners. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it will take us more than a year to get through all of the countries.
Wow. That's really cool.
But all right, so we'll move on to this week's episode, which is healthy eating on a budget. So the first thing I want to do just to clear the air is say that undoubtedly eating healthy does cost more than eating crappy food.
True dat.
In terms of your grocery budget.
That's true.
Right. So I'm not just going to pretend that that's not the case.
Right.
Especially if you want to invest in high quality pasture-raised meats and dairy products and organic produce. Like, organic produce costs more than conventional produce. Like, all you have to do is go to the grocery store and look at them side by side to know that, right?
Right.
So I'm not pretending it doesn't. But what we have to take into account is the cost, like the cost of not eating healthy. So I have some figures here for you.
I want it. This is good.
You know, I love numbers.
Yes.
So they haven't tallied it up yet. In fact, it's hard to find cost of healthcare information from like beyond 2017. This is not apparently something they keep up regularly on.
Okay.
But the projected healthcare spending per person in 2023 is expected to reach $15,000.
In a year.
Just per 2023
person.
Per person, $15,000.
And that's like health insurance, and then when you go, and then you have to pay all your bills, and then like your
medication costs
and the pharmaceutical. Okay. Wow.
So average cost per person in 2016, which again was kind of the most recent data I could easily find from a verifiable source, was $10,345. So per person. That was in 2016, which was, like 7 years ago.
Wow.
So for comparison, in 1960, the average cost per person was $146.
Oh, whoa.
So adjusting for inflation, like where money is obviously at a different value than it was back then, that still means that costs are at a minimum 9 times higher now than they were then.
Holy cow. Okay, I do notice it's harder for like, my mom always stayed home with the kiddos, and I was like, oh, I want to do that, but then bills, right? So then it's like, well, I still got to make money. Okay. And that's a huge part of the income. We're going to talk budget right now. It's true. We have student loans. We have more insurance. We have health insurance. We have like the cost of, like, everything has gone up, where it's like, holy cow, like that many years ago, that's all it took for you to just exist and to be able to go to the doctor. And now everyone's, and then with us having more chronic diseases, and it costs more, and more pharmaceuticals. Holy cow, Eleni.
Yeah. So here's how that breaks down. According to eHealth Insurance, for unsubsidized customers in 2016, premiums for individual coverage averaged $321 per month, while premiums for family plans averaged about $833 per month.
Yep.
The average annual deductible for individual plans was $4,358, and the average deductible for family plans was $7,983.
Holy cow!
So that means that that year that they did that math, the average family paid $9,996 for coverage, and if they met their deductible, a total of just under $18,000.
Wow.
And these figures don't take into account any additional co-insurance responsibilities. In addition to co-pays and deductibles, an increasing number of plans now require co-insurance payments, which require that even once you meet your deductible, you still continue paying some percentage of all costs until you hit your out-of-pocket maximum.
Wow.
And that's just for the average American. Now, let's say that you have something like cancer. So from the NIH, I got this information. If cancer diagnosis and treatment is divided into phases of care, the initial first year after diagnosis, end of life, so the year before you pass away from cancer, and continuing, which is the time in between, per patient, annualized average costs are higher in the last year of life, followed by initial and continuing phases. So here are the medical services for that time frame for a cancer diagnosis. So end of life, $109,727.
Whoa.
Whew. And then the initial phase is $43,516. The continuing phase is $5,518, and oral prescription drugs range from $4,372 to then on the lower end $1,041.
Holy cow.
For cancer.
Okay.
In a very short period of time.
Wow.
What about a heart attack? So according to an article from the National Business Group on Health, the average total cost of a severe heart attack, including direct and indirect costs, which the cancer costs did not include indirect costs. So things like time away from work, right? Where you're not getting paid, that's a huge expense.
Right.
Okay, so including now direct and indirect costs, the average severe heart attack is $1 million.
Whoa.
Direct costs include charges for hospitals, doctors, and prescription drugs, while the indirect costs include lost productivity and time away from work. Whoa. The average cost of a less severe heart attack is about $760,000. So if you amortize that over 20 years, that's $50,000 per year for a severe heart attack and $38,000 per year for a less severe heart attack.
Whoa.
How about Alzheimer's? So I think that the care that family and loved ones provide is one often kind of underappreciated cost of Alzheimer's, but drugs alone can cost upwards of $28,200 per year.
Wow.
For patients who receive treatment without insurance coverage. And by the way, those drugs don't work. Yeah. Like there is no prescription drug that's shown to actually stop or reverse Alzheimer's. Wow. It might just slow it down, but it's not reversing it.
Wow.
And the average cost of providing care for someone with Alzheimer's is nearly $60,000 a year.
Okay. Golly. Okay, I'm like thinking through the cheapest way I can die. Is that bad?
Right.
Okay, golly.
Well, by taking care of your body and just dying in your sleep, right? Then nobody's taking care of you.
That's true. Holding hands with your loved ones, like that cute movie, The Notebook.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we all want, isn't it? Okay.
Although she did have Alzheimer's, but...
Oh, she did in the end, didn't she?
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, spoiler alert. Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen it by now, I mean...
You're right. Fair. That was...
But those costs that I just went through, that's just the financial cost, right? That doesn't include the incredible emotional and energetic toll that is exacted by a chronic disease. So, you know, I think you get the idea. Chronic diseases are preventable 90% of the time, right? With diet and lifestyle. So if you think you can't afford to eat healthy, I would challenge you to flip that and say, I can't afford to not eat healthy, right?
I got goosebumps from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to now share some insights that I've gained over the past 10-ish years since beginning my health journey, and help you find out how to make eating healthy affordable. Definitely affordable.
Because
right?
we're cheapskates.
Yeah, because I started doing this when I was a single woman in college.
You got no money.
House cleaning.
I got no money.
House cleaning for a living and paying for my entire existence.
Yep.
Which
yourself.
was meager.
Yeah.
But I literally started doing these things when I was in college. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Yep.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to make organic produce affordable. Okay. And the number one tip I can give you is to invest in a CSA. So I invested when I was in college, single, in a CSA, like because I did the math and realized if I was going to buy organic produce, which was important to me.
Yeah.
Because at that point I was majoring in environmental science. And so it was important to me from an environmental science perspective,
yep.
Less so than from the perspective of my health. But I just was like, oh, I see how much detriment we're doing to our soil and to our environment and to our bugs and to our pollinators and to our like keystone species through the use of pesticides.
Yeah. Yep.
So I want to buy organic.
Yep.
So this was actually the start for me with like environmental health. So here's some just examples of pricing. Now, granted, these are prices from Iowa. Cost of living in Iowa,
we're cheap,
is lower than a lot of other states, which is why it's so great to live in Iowa.
Yeah.
However, we also make less money at our jobs. So everything should balance out. Right. So like a CSA, if you don't know what a CSA is, it's community supported agriculture. So it's basically a farm share. So a CSA, you pay upfront for a share, quote unquote, from a local farm, and then they deliver veggies, or you go pick them up every week from some sort of like drop-off location. And that's your share of the farm. So it's an upfront expense, and then you get veggies through the whole season. Mm-hmm. So the cost of one should be balanced with your like state's cost of living and your income and all of that. So it shouldn't be wildly different from state to state, although I'm sure Iowa has
lower
prices.
Yeah.
So, for example, Wildwoods Farms in Iowa City is one CSA option that I looked pricing up on. For their summer share, the cost is $525, which is pretty much on par with what I paid for Grinnell Heritage Farm. I bought their CSA almost 10 years ago, and I think pricing has stayed fairly consistent. So the summer share for Wildwoods Farms runs for June, July, August, and September. So you pay $525 and you get 4 months worth of produce. So at $525, that breaks down to $131.25 per month. That is not huge per month. Like, that's a pretty good, that fits in most people's budget.
For groceries, yeah.
Because that averages $32 a week for organic produce.
Oh, yeah.
And here's what their shares look like each month. So for June, and you pick up every week. So for June, every week, pretty much what you're getting is lettuce, spinach, radishes, beets, kohlrabi, turnips, and carrots. For July, you get cucumbers, tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, kale, basil, cabbage, eggplant, green beans, and onions. For August, you get peppers, potatoes, tomatoes, carrots, kale, basil, zucchini, cabbage, onions, eggplant, green beans, cucumbers, and garlic.
That's when you're getting the good stuff.
Yeah, everything's available later in the season, especially in Iowa. September, you get peppers, potatoes, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, kale, basil, squash, onions, cabbage, and garlic.
That's amazing.
Their fall share costs roughly the same per month, so you can also buy a fall share from them. So that was just their summer share. The fall share lasts through October and November, so it's 2 months, and it's $225, and consistently contains garlic, potatoes, squash, such as acorn, butternut, carnival, and other storage squashes, lettuce, kale, and other greens. Other items include spinach, sweet potatoes, cabbage, carrots, and radishes, weather permitting, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and cauliflower. That's a ton of produce. And I will just say, when you get a CSA share, it is inevitably more than you could use. Like, you, in order to effectively use it all, would need to freeze and store it. So if you're thinking like, I don't know, $32 a week for more organic produce than you would even know what to do with seems like a pretty good bargain to me.
That's cool.
Like, just think about if you go to Starbucks every morning and spend $5 to $7 on a coffee drink.
Right.
You could just not do that for 1 week, and there's your $35 to pay for your organic produce.
That's cool.
From a local farm, right?
Yep.
So just putting it in perspective, again, eating healthy doesn't have to be expensive. Now, obviously, if you were to buy organic produce from a grocery store each week, it would definitely cost more than that. It would cost more than $32 a week.
Yeah.
So if you're just looking at organic versus non-organic produce in a grocery store, yes, it is more expensive to buy organic. But if you do something like a CSA farm share, you are for sure saving money.
Yeah.
And probably paying less than you would for conventional produce.
Yeah.
At a grocery store if you're buying it week to week. Plus, you have the benefits of supporting a local farmer and helping your local economy and in that sense.
In the season.
And you get to eat seasonally, which we've talked about the importance of that. So good for your body's circadian rhythm. So the benefits just far outweigh any of the cons. And of course, it's an upfront investment, but I would just encourage you to start setting aside money for it now and saving up for it now so you can invest next year. Yep. And keep in mind that you do usually need to make reservations pretty far in advance. So I can't remember, I've never gone through Wildwoods because we grow our own produce now, but with like Grinnell, I remember signing up maybe January to get a farm share. So you need to be on it. Like look up your local CSA options, see when their deadlines are, and then book in advance because you can't wait until the first week of June. Usually.
Yeah, they gone. Yep.
Yeah, the shares are usually gone.
Yep.
Hey there, Renegades. Eleni here, briefly interrupting this episode of the Renegade Nutrition podcast. I wanted to highlight a company that Kay and I have recently discovered that we love, and that company is Bulletproof. Bulletproof sells high-quality nutritional supplements, and every product that Kay and I have tried from them personally, we have found to be excellent. It's important when you choose a supplement that it contain the bioactive forms in order for it to be effective, and Bulletproof has just the right forms in just the right amounts. Right now, if you go to bulletproof.com and use the code RENEGADE15 at checkout, you can receive 15% off your order. That's Renegade, RENEGADE 15. Use that code at checkout to get 15% off, and we'll earn a small commission too. Thanks for your support. All right, back to this week's episode of the Renegade Nutrition Podcast. So, if you aren't going to make that upfront investment and you're buying fruit and veggies from a store, then the best way to keep it affordable is to use the EWGs, so the Environmental Working Group. They have a list of the dirty dozen, so the foods most heavily laden with pesticides, and then the clean 15. And so that's the list of foods most or least commonly affected by pesticides. So you can use that to purchase the dirty dozen organic, and then the least pesticide laden, the clean 15, just conventional. Mm-hmm. So that's one way to do it more affordably in a grocery store. You don't do everything organic. Again, the CSA, investing in a CSA is way more affordable in the long run, but I get that the upfront investment could be tough, right? So let's talk about meat. Well, just like produce is far more affordable with a CSA share, so too is buying meat directly from a farmer in a share. Yep. So that's the best way to get grass-fed, pasture-raised meat because it is more affordable and it supports your local economy. So we get beef, pork, and chicken from Galen Pondtrager here in Kelowna, and he's probably, I would imagine, maybe one of the pricier options, but we really like him and we've visited his farm and we know how high quality his meat is and what a good life his animals live. So we don't mind, right? We're on his list. We're going to stay there. Yep. So here's some prices of what we paid. So we bought a half cow that cost us about $900 last year. This is last year's pricing. Mm-hmm. So half a cow cost about $900. The butcher cost was $200 for our beef share, which was roughly 250 pounds of meat. So again, that's a big number. I get it. I'm not downplaying, like $1,100 is a big upfront investment, right? But it came out to roughly $4.30 a pound for grass-fed, pasture-raised meat. Like,
that's awesome.
That is nothing per pound.
That's awesome because that's ground beef and the good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2023 is slightly more expensive because for farmers, the cost of everything has gone up. So those was 2022's prices. I looked up 2023's prices. And now the purchase price is roughly $4.60 a pound, and then it's probably still an extra $1 for a butcher cost, so roughly $5.50 per pound. So it's gone up about $1.20 per pound, which is substantial. But for pork, it came out to roughly $4.50 a pound last year, including butcher cost, and it's looking like that price will stay consistent for 2023. And for pastured chickens, it comes out to roughly $5.50 a pound. For turkeys, it is $5.75 a pound. But again, that's a huge cost savings. And I'll go into what those things cost in the grocery store.
Yes.
So again, it takes an upfront investment, which isn't necessarily an option for everybody. But you usually put down a deposit, so we don't pay all of it all at once. We put down a deposit to reserve our meat shares for the next year, and then we pay the rest upon pickup. But if you were to buy individual cuts of meat from the grocery store, it is way more. So we looked this up yesterday. A grass-fed beef steak from the grocery store, depending on where you buy it, might run you anywhere from $11.99 a pound for tri-tip steak to $30 a pound for ribeye steak, and anywhere from $17.50 to $28 a pound for New York strip steaks. And ground beef comes out to almost $10 a pound. So for ground beef, the cheapest meat option, to buy it at the grocery store is double what we paid per pound universally. So our like tri-tip steaks, which we ordered through the butcher when we had our half cow processed, were still $4.50 a pound compared to $11.99 a pound, or $4.50 a pound for a ribeye steak compared to $30 a pound, right? So if you're ordering a cow share, you're paying literally anywhere from a third to a fourth of the cost per pound. So it is totally worth saving up and making the upfront investment. Like,
yes, it is. You've got me being like, okay, set aside money. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, and that's how we plan our budget for the year. Like, we just save that money the previous year and then have it ready.
Bank account.
Yeah, and then have it ready the following year. Plus, it's amazing doing it that way because when there were like nationwide beef shortages for some reason during COVID, we had a whole freezer full of beef. Like, our biggest scare is losing power right now. Like,
you need to get a generator with 5 of these.
We do have a generator.
You do? Okay.
We did invest. We did invest in one last year.
That was worth your investment.
Actually, after the derecho at the end of 2020, we were like, okay, we need a generator.
Yeah, that's smart.
Because we had to pack all of our meat into like coolers and take it over to Christopher's parents' house because they had a generator and we didn't.
Oh my. Okay.
Which was quite a project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So get a generator. Okay.
So we have a generator. So, and that's also why we have like 5 freezers. Right. So buying shares like this from farmers also, as a bonus, allows you to get things like soup bones.
Yeah.
For making bone broth for like dirt cheap, which if you have to buy soup bones at the store, I don't know why they're expensive, but they are. And we can, like, when we get chickens, we get bags of chicken feet.
Yeah.
And we use that for our bone broth because it's like a really nutritious way to get a lot of collagen and gelatin into your bone broth.
I mean, gross.
Don't look at them.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I don't.
Just put them in the pot, close the lid.
Wash them real good.
Pretend it's not happening.
Yes,
yep.
Yep.
But like otherwise those things are hard to find, or because they're hard to find, grocery stores will charge more for them than I think is sane. But
yeah.
And it's way cheaper to make your own bone broth versus buying it frozen at the store. Right. And it takes like 10 minutes of hands-on time. Most of that is straining and bottling. So if you can go through a cow share or a pig share or a lamb share or whatever, chicken share, you're going to not only save a ton of money on pasture-raised quality meat, but you're also going to be able to get bones for bone broth and make your own bone broth. Yep. And that is one of the most nutrient-dense foods and a big part of eating healthy. So just things. And then if you want to buy eggs from Galen, which we don't because we have chickens, but he only charges $5.75 a dozen. Like, we just looked at egg prices at the grocery store on Monday, and pasture-raised eggs were nearly $10 a dozen.
Golly.
So it pays to buy from a local farmer.
Yep.
And most states have these options. I understand not every state and not every town in every state has one close by. We're kind of fortunate because we're right in the belt of it.
Yeah.
So I get it. But even if you had to drive an hour one way once a week to pick up like a CSA, it still would be worth it for your cost savings.
Twice a year cow, like it's worth that.
Yeah, if you have to drive 3 hours once or twice a year one way, it's like a 6-hour day. Oh my gosh, it's so worth it.
Yep. Yep. And then once you start getting in those circles, you find more opportunities for it.
Right. Yep. Right. And I wanted to offer some, if you're in Iowa, like we are, some other really great options. There's Roadside Farm, which is RHODES. It's owned by Liz and Stephen Rhodes. They sell pastured pork and grass-finished beef. I know them personally. They take extremely good care of their land and their animals, so they're worth checking out, and I'll include their website in our show notes for those of you who are local. Another great option is West Fork Farmstead. I haven't personally tried them, but they were recommended by a friend, and they sell pasture-raised meat, eggs, and honey. So just in Iowa alone, there's tons of different local options, and most states have just as many. You might just have to make a drive, but it's worth it, right? So that covers the mains. So that's how you get meat and veggies. And if we can just be real, that's most of what you need to eat healthy. Like, you don't actually need that much else.
Yeah.
We just like buying more, right? Like, we want to buy bananas and avocados and citrus, which here in Iowa you can't get locally. But if you're in a place like Florida or California, those would be included in CSA shares, I'm sure. Cool. So if you're in a place, like, it just encourages you to eat locally, to eat seasonally. It's a win-win-win. And now for dairy, just think about it, because raw milk is officially legal in Iowa. It is. Governor Reynolds did sign, so that's really exciting.
Wow, looky here.
I know, huge step forward. There's still a lot of restrictions, and I wish there weren't, but that's how we got it signed, and that's okay. So you can buy raw milk directly from farms or at farmers markets in many states, or in some states you can get a cow or goat share and get milk that way. And it is not hard at all to make your own yogurt, kefir, and things like mozzarella cheese. When we were milking our milk goats, I made mozzarella probably like once or twice a week, like huge batches of it, and it was so amazing.
Really?
Oh my God,
I don't even know where to start with that.
Oh, I mean, you just have to look it up online. You buy enzymes. I bought vegetable-based ones, and you just boil the milk to a certain temperature. You add the enzymes in, and it like literally like creates cheese. It's a process, but oh my God, it was so good. And mozzarella is like the easiest one because it's not like aged. If you're doing something like cheddar, then you need a way to safely age the cheese, and I'm not an expert in that.
Right.
By any means.
Wow, but I didn't know this.
Yeah, but a lot of farms, if you can go get raw milk, first of all, raw milk is a good health food on its own. So that's one way to get dairy.
Yeah.
And then you can make yogurt or kefir. It's just a matter of heating it at the right temperature. And there's instructions online everywhere.
Okay.
And you just have to get a starter culture. But once you have a starter culture, again, there's like an upfront cost. But after that, it's a one-time cost. Like, right? You just make it every week from the same starter culture you had.
I'm out of my league, and I will admit it, Eleni.
Yes.
Like, this starter culture, how do I know if I kill it? How do I know if it turned to poison?
Oh, well, I mean, you would taste the milk and it would taste awful, but...
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to research this.
Yeah, there's all kinds of signs.
Okay.
Of course. So that's like the mains, right? That's vegetables, meat, dairy.
Yeah.
So again, all you really actually need to follow a nutrient-dense diet. Yep. However, if you are buying a lot of snacks, good quality ones with fewer ingredients that are more high quality are obviously going to be more expensive than conventional ones, right?
Yes.
Which is one reason why I don't buy a ton of snacks. But there are ways to like make it more affordable. So first of all, like fresh fruit makes a great snack.
Yum, yes.
You can go to a U-Pick farm. Lots of states have U-Pick farms, and which saves you a ton of money, and you get to just go directly to the farm and pick the produce you want.
It's like so fun.
It's totally fun. Yep. It's a fun day. Like, it's especially a fun day to like invite family to.
Yes.
You can get a ton in bulk and then freeze it. So you have that throughout the year. Again, why we have so many freezers. Also, buying things like beans, lentils, rice, nuts, those sorts of things in bulk. Cheap. You can buy those in bulk and save money. Yep,
like dried beans, buy the big old bag. It's like $2.
Yeah.
And then make it, and it makes so much, as opposed to a can is like $1 each.
Agreed.
Yep.
Oh, a can. And if you're buying organic, a can could be anywhere from $2 to $3.
Oh, yeah.
So again, if you're just looking at a grocery store shelf and you're not thinking economically, you're like, oh my gosh, these organic beans.
I can't afford this.
Yeah, the organic beans are 3 times the price of conventional. But you can buy dried organic beans.
And make it yourself.
Which is better. And then you can make them with bone broth, which is what I do. And then they're even better.
And soak them overnight.
So you don't get the farts.
Yeah.
And so like, of course, there's just going to be some things, right? Like we buy organic corn tortillas. They cost more than conventional corn tortillas.
Because we're not monsters.
Because I'm not monsters. And I pay for that. Or I buy like grain-free alternatives. So maybe I get like Siete brand chips if I'm craving chips or something.
Them.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, they're expensive, right? But you don't have to go like 0 to 60.
Right.
I think if you start with the mains, with the produce, with the meat, with the dairy, and then maybe with fruit, buying those things in bulk at You Pick Farms, from farm shares, directly from a farmer. Yeah. Again, you're going to be saving a lot of money. And it is affordable. It's totally affordable for the average person. You just have to invest in your health. And obviously, you're still going to have the costs of health insurance, right? Like my husband and I still have health insurance. We still have to pay those costs. But we don't go to the doctor.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like we invest in things that cost like acupuncture and chiropractic that keep us from getting sick, like prevention-based care.
Yep.
And that costs money and is part of our budget. Yep. But we're not spending $60,000 a year on medications.
Right.
Or $15,000 a year on medications, which is what it costs the average diabetic. So I'm just saying, like, put it in perspective. You can't afford to not eat healthy because ultimately it becomes this huge financial drain on yourself and your family, mostly your kids if you're older. And it's this massive emotional and energetic drain too, like for the people that need to take care of you. So if you just start your transition with meat and produce and cut back on the like processed foods, that is a huge step forward for your health. Otherwise, everything we've shared here is basically going to cover your major costs and everything you would need to survive. So, yeah.
It's brilliant. It really is. And that's that quote, what is it? The healthy man has 1,000 dreams. The sick man has one.
Right.
So here, like the healthy man has more money than the sick man. All your money's got to go to health. So it really is like make your choice ahead of time and that preventative mindset. So I know that's like a hard truth in our modern world, but here it is.
Right. And it is like, okay, I get it. I mean, if you have a CSA and if you have a cow share and you're in Iowa, like that's going to be close to $2,000 at one time generally. But over the course of a whole year, that's not really that much per month in a food budget. Yep. So if you just start saving money aside and stop spending money on, because things like snacks add up. I mean, alcohol, hello. Yeah. Alcohol is super expensive.
Super expensive. Yes, it is.
So maybe cut your alcohol budget out for a year and you'll have basically saved money to start eating healthy the following year.
Yeah.
Or like stop buying coffee from the coffee shop every morning.
Yep. And eating out. I feel like since my husband and I are spending more on groceries, I feel like we've kind of balanced our budget by not going out to eat as much.
Right, absolutely.
But I miss that. So then we got to, make our dance there. But,
yeah. And you choose, right? But I'm just saying most people, when they say they can't afford it, what they mean is,
I don't want to.
I don't want to. But really, we can afford anything we want to afford and have to afford. Like,
make it a priority, make your health a priority, make your feeling good a priority, and make the environment a priority. Here we are.
Yeah, support your local economy, support local farmers, support the people who are doing it right. And then the rest of the world can change and match it accordingly.
Yeah, as you can. So, well, thank you, Eleni. And you get me right back on track every week. And I'm feeling it. I'm inspired. I'm going to go home, eat some pasture-raised beef, and go churn my own mozzarella. I will not do that, but I will eat the meat. So, all right. Well, thank you, Eleni. And for the rest, go be renegades.
Go be renegades.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is an educational service that provides general health information. The content on this podcast is not a substitute for direct, personal, professional medical care and diagnosis. you should always talk to your doctor before making a dietary or lifestyle change. Go be renegades!
Go be renegades!